handoff. Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose. He splits the defense. 50, 40, 30. Goodbye, baby. Touchdown!
We bleed purple and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome. Behold, we are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores.
Hey there, Vikings faithful. Welcome to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West, and hailing from parts unknown, his name is Adam Carlson.
That's me, and I do hail from parts unknown.
A.K.A. Michigan.
I'd like to welcome everyone to episode number 57 of the Purple People podcast, and this one is entitled, The People Under the Steroids.
Well, hopefully no one on the roster is on steroids.
I don't know, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, we're going to go to social media with Kyle West.
Well, we typically go to social media, but this week I am going to throw a curveball out there, and periodically from now until training camp, I am going to do a small segment called Tales from Mankato. Do you know what this is, Adam?
All right. Do you chop off dogs' tails and send us pictures of them or something?
No, I do not do that.
That'd be kind of creepy.
That would be really creepy. No, Tales from Mankato is going to be just a couple little funny, interesting stories that have happened while I've been up in Mankato, just to kind of let the fans know what kind of experience it is and try to get more people interested in going up there, and to let everyone know that you should be following us on Twitter at Purple People Pod and on Facebook.com /Purple People Podcast, because here in the next couple weeks leading up to the start of training camp and throughout preseason, we're really going to start rolling out some more coverage with all kinds of things related to the Vikings. So that's where I'm trying to go with this.
Yeah, with how far I am away, I really like that Kyle goes there and observes and reports back to me, because I can't make it down there for the training. I can't be there personally, but at least I'll know what's up. And Kyle was one of the few last year that talked to me right away about the Greg Childs injury.
I was there. Yeah, I was there the night that Greg Childs got injured, and that was disturbing. We'll maybe save that story for a little bit later. Look forward to photography is a big hobby of mine, and I take lots and lots and lots of photos. So when I am up there, which is going to be in the second weekend of August, I think, there will be all kinds of photos on the Facebook page and on Twitter, and just lots of really cool stuff that I'm planning on doing while I'm up there. My story that I have here really quick, I'm a people person, and when you're Vikings fans by nature are just really nice when you're up there. You can talk to pretty much anyone, and by default, I talk to everyone that's around me to begin with. So when there's people and there's Vikings, it's like I'm going to talk to as many people as possible. Well, there was this guy, and I had a Randy Moss jersey on, and he was in front of me. And he's like, hey, I like the 84 jersey you got on. You know, I'm really bummed that the team cut him. And he went on to state that he had called the Vikings front offices at Winter Park like a dozen times and told them, like, basically chewed them out over the phone. And I would imagine, I don't recommend doing this, because you're just talking to secretaries and people who don't even remotely make decisions when you call Winter Park. But this guy said that he had called them probably a dozen or so times and chewed them out on how they cut Randy Moss, and he was a legend in Minnesota, and they needed to bring him back, and what they did to him was wrong. And it was just the funniest thing. And I was trying not to laugh at the guy, because I was just thinking to myself, God, those poor front office people at Winter Park don't deserve to have this crazy Randy Moss fan chewing him out like that. So
I can't believe you met someone who loves Randy Moss more than you do.
Oh, you'll meet all kinds of people when you're up there in Mankato. You'll meet people in Culpepper jerseys, Moss jerseys, and you can talk about any era of the Vikings. You'll find someone who's dead set on them being the best era of all time. So you can have.
And remember, if you do go to camp, don't be afraid to come up and say hi to Kyle West.
Oh yeah, I'll be up
He's
there.
a pretty nice guy.
I think I'll.
And I especially recommend, if you are an attractive woman with large lady parts, Kyle West will like you even more.
You should, and I think I will be wearing a Purple People podcast T-shirt.
We're hoping.
Yeah, so if you guys happen to spot it, I will guarantee you I will be the only one wearing a podcast shirt up there. So if you see me, I'll probably be buried in a camera someplace near the sidelines. But yeah, feel free to say hello.
All right, is that everything you got for the story?
Yeah, that's my story for this week.
Very cool. But let's go into our top story. And it's a weird one, kind of, because we have a problem at middle linebacker right now.
Well, we do.
Now,
or
with
we
the Vikings signing Desmond Bishop, one would assume that Bishop was going to be pretty much a lock to win the middle linebacker job. But we all know how Aaron Henderson is. Aaron Henderson is a guy that, I won't say stubborn, I'll say determined.
Mm-hmm.
He feels like he has to prove something to the team, to his naysayers, and he does not want to change back to outside linebacker. The coaches have said he will be staying at middle linebacker, which makes it a competition now between him and Desmond Bishop. But that leaves the outside linebacker spot wide open. And it makes you wonder, are they going to start rookie Gerald Hodges, sorry. Or will the loser of the middle linebacker contest kind of get the consolation prize of starting on the outside?
Well, for one thing, I love the fact that Aaron Henderson is like, no, this is my job. I don't care who you guys brought in. Like, they can compete with me because this is what I want to do. I like that. I like players that are motivated and want to go out there and, prove their worth to the team like that.
Absolutely.
Even though Aaron Henderson doesn't have to prove his worth because we know what kind of talent he is to the Vikings, but
right.
I still really like that from him. I think the scenario will be that Aaron and Desmond are going to battle it in training camp and preseason, and probably Aaron moves back to the spot that he was playing last year on the roster, but I think it will be, like I said last week, more of a competition than what people are thinking it'll be.
It's really interesting because this is a really strange position because the Vikings aren't used to having quality players competing at that middle linebacker position. I mean, over the last couple of years, we've had guys like Jasper Brinkley, and Jasper Brinkley's not terrible, don't get me wrong, but they could definitely do better than him, and Aaron Henderson and Desmond Bishop are both, I think,
better
upgrades to him. So it's cool to see two guys competing like that. One big factor is we've read that Desmond Bishop is 100% healthy, but we don't know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a factor of why the team wants Aaron Henderson to stay at middle linebacker and compete, because they're not really sure or positive about what's going on with Bishop's health.
I think it has more to do with they want to believe that Aaron Henderson will be more of a long-term solution. You know what I mean? With Desmond Bishop, he has the 1-year contract. He's been hurt. And maybe you don't quite know. Maybe they're viewing him more of a stopgap, and maybe they're like, if Aaron can really go out there and show us that, darn, he is the starter, and he will be the starter at that position, and we feel like we're set for the next 3 to 5 years with him at that spot. I could see Leslie Frazier hoping for that.
Well, Bishop isn't very old either. He's only been in the league for 5 years.
He's only 20.
He's another
28.
guy that,
yeah,
he could be one of the guys that they can develop into a long-term guy too. Now, the contract they got Desmond Bishop on to bring him into Minnesota, insanely cheap. Very little guarantees.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, after I saw the contract, I was surprised that he signed with Minnesota because it makes me really wonder what the other contract offers were.
Mm-hmm. I love the contract. Rick Spielman must have did some pillow talk and talked dirty into his ear to get him to sign with Minnesota, because you're right, they got him at a bargain. Like I would imagine that Kansas City threw more money at him, but this is the first time in a long time that we're getting free agents that are willing to come to Minnesota because they want to play here, because they feel like this is giving them the best shot to win.
Right. They believe in the team.
Yep.
They believe in the fundamentals that it has. They believe in the potential this team has. And it's really cool because these free agents, they're going to make the team better.
Yeah, they are.
They're supplements.
You
Free agents are supplements you build to the draft, and that's exactly what this team has been doing.
you want to know what I call that, Adam? That's the Leslie Frazier effect. It is.
The new Spielman philosophy.
Yeah, and I don't mean to get us completely off topic here, but players didn't like Brad Childress. He was not a player's coach.
Fans didn't care for Brad Childress.
No one liked Brad Childress. Brad Childress didn't like Brad Childress. The players have Leslie Frazier's back. They respect him, okay? And you're seeing that. You're seeing that with the participation that they're getting with the voluntary practices, where you're getting Jared Allen is showing up. Jared Allen never shows up for this stuff, and you can chalk that up to rehab, or you can say that, maybe he wants to do what's right for the team, and because, he respects Leslie Frazier as well. And I think that's a big part of the reason why we're getting guys like Desmond Bishop that want to come to Minnesota and they want to play for us.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Now, up next are segments about wide receivers. This is Kyle West's segment, so I will just sit back and relax a little bit and get some comments in, but take it away,
Okay.
Kyle.
My subjects always go all over the place, but you guys should be used to that by now. I just wanted to take a couple minutes here to look at our receiving core and just kind of have an open conversation between me and Adam about different players on the team and what we think from them, because really, out of all the spots on the roster, I think wide receiver is the one that's probably it's drastically different from what we've seen last year.
It is. There's quite a few new bodies. There's people that are developing, people that are changing positions. It's really an interesting spot.
Mm-hmm. I want to start with a guy who is no longer with the team, and that's Percy Harvin. I want to know, how big of an effect do you think it's going to be not having Percy on this squad in 2013?
Well, to be honest, at first I was really upset when the Vikings lost Percy Harvin because he was a producer. Mm-hmm. You could put the ball in his hands and he could make things happen. And I don't know, to me, I was willing to put up with a lot of the headaches that he was giving fans and coaching staff, allegedly. Mm-hmm. But after seeing what Jarius Wright was doing at the end of last year, when Percy Harvin was out with his injury, I am not missing Percy Harvin as much as I thought I would. I really think Jarius Wright has the ability to step in and play at a high level out of the slot, even work in some deep to moderate routes. He's a guy that I think can take Harvin's place, especially since they have new bodies on the outside that can get separation, know how to run routes, and it's really an exciting time for Jarius Wright because he's going to get a huge opportunity.
Yeah, I got over the Percy Harvin divorce pretty quick, and Percy was one of those players where when I would talk to non-Vikings fans, and they would always ask, well, other than Adrian, what do you guys have on offense? Percy was the first one that always came to mind. And you would always talk about how dynamic of a player he is. And yeah, the amount of positions you could line him up in, you're not going to find just one guy who can bring the skill set that Harvin had to the team. Thankfully, I think Minnesota has kind of filled his role in with two different players on the team, and that's Jarius Wright. I agree with everything you just said about him, and I think he's poised to have a breakout year for Minnesota. And then they drafted number 84, Cordarrelle Patterson, I think is going to fill in the other half of the shoes that Percy did, and that's some of the gadgets, special teams, end-arounds, different things like that, I think is what Cordarrelle will be able to bring to the offense this first season. And between the two of them, you're going to get probably more production than what Percy would have gave you for less headaches, figuratively and literally speaking, than what he had. So I think honestly, we're gonna be just fine without him.
Another thing to think about is when you combine the cost of Jarius Wright's contract and Cordero Patterson's contract, it will come nowhere near what it would have cost to sign Percy Harvin back to a long-term deal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, down the road, Cordero Patterson's contract might get pretty pricey if he ends up living up to the potential that he's putting out there, because coaches have been raving about him, teammates have been raving about him, even reporters for other networks have been talking about how amazing he is, and you never hear that.
Yeah.
When you are checking out a Green Bay Packers blog to see what they're saying about the Vikings, and some of them are saying that they're worried about Cordero Patterson because of what they're hearing,
Mm-hmm.
that's good.
Yeah.
I like.
Well, let's go ahead and let's talk about number 84 for Minnesota, since we're kind of doing so already. Here is one guy that I cannot wait for training camp just to see what he can do with the ball in his hands, because by default, they don't really tackle as hard as what they do, and it's just, he's the kind of guy that's poised to just make a bunch of big plays when they're out there in that Mankato heat. So I'm excited to see him in training camp for sure. And then obviously preseason, I think he's going to be the big focus of every Vikings fan, is how are they going to use 84 on the roster, and what is he going to, like, what dynamic is he going to bring to this offense?
Yeah, earlier, we were talking about position battles, and that's a really good one going on right now, because right now you have to assume that Jerome Simpson is penciled in as the starter at wide receiver with Greg Jennings. But Cordero Patterson is one of those guys that he has a chance to take that job from Simpson. We don't know how long it'll take, but we have to assume that it will happen.
Week 4.
Will it happen during training camp? Will it happen during preseason? Will it happen 5-6 games into the year? Will it happen after the season? We have no idea. But the guy has the talent and the ability to make it happen.
You want a prediction? I will make a stupid prediction right now. Week 4, I think, is what it'll take for him to get above Jerome Simpson in the depth charts.
Week 4. So against the Steelers in London, he gets his big show. I don't know. Maybe I'll say week 6 after the bye.
Okay.
Because I really think he will overtake Simpson. I like Simpson as a number 3, number 4 guy. I don't love him starting on the outside, but don't get me wrong, he was injured last season, and it did affect a lot of his speed and ability to break away, so maybe he'll come out with something to prove. We don't know. But for now, I am thinking that Cordero Patterson will come out and will shine.
And I read into where he's penciled in on the roster right now as them giving the veteran on the team the benefit of the doubt. That's what I think, is that it's like, well, you give him the nod, and that's kind of an extra motivation for 84 to show what he can do, and hey, you got to earn that spot. Like, it's not just given to you. Okay, Jerome, he's a bit of a diva. We've seen that from him. And health-wise, I don't really understand precisely what happened to him last year. I'm not even sure if he knows quite what happened to him. But I am glad that they brought Jerome Simpson back to the team. Now, I'm not convinced exactly where his true spot's going to be. I think we'll find out a couple weeks into the season what exactly will happen with that. But he is a good... To me, I view him as a really good sort of relief backup player that's maybe not on the field every down, but you can bring him in there and you know that he has the ability, when you call his number, to make a play. And that's when he's healthy.
Right.
And I really hope that he can stay healthy and develop into a good weapon for Minnesota.
One of the major things about Jerome Simpson that isn't talked about a whole lot is that he does seem to have some sort of connection with Christian Ponder. They are on the same page, it seems. Now, I don't know if Ponder can develop a similar relationship with Cordero Patterson or not, that's yet to be seen with the preseason camp, but I'm sure that's something that you'll be keeping a close eye for.
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course. My
But
camera lens will be focused heartily on 84 when he's out there practicing.
yeah, Patterson is the second rookie that I'm most excited to see.
Mm-hmm.
First is Xavier Rhodes.
You know,
I don't know why. I'm pumped to see what he can do.
of course, the wide receiver is the flash position that you want to go for, but I am really interested to see Sharif Floyd out on the
Yeah.
field for Minnesota. Anyway, we got to get back to finishing up our receiver talk here a little bit. The veteran
All right.
of the group, who it's his first year for the team, but he's the veteran core leader of our wide receivers at this point. Number 15, Greg Jennings. What are
Right.
you expecting from Greg this year, Adam?
Okay, Vikings fans, please don't send me hate mail.
You can send
Please.
Adam hate mail at.
I don't trust Greg Jennings to stay healthy. I think that he will go down with an injury sometime during the year, maybe even multiple times, and we'll see Jerome Simpson and Cordero Patterson starting. Even then, I don't think it'll be that big of a deal.
Mhm.
But I don't see a ton of production out of Jennings, but I do see him being that guy that you can count on him running solid routes, getting separation once in a while for a big play. I don't think you're going to see the insane passing game like you used to see from him in Green Bay. He's going to be playing that different role
Mhm.
of a faster, more talented Jenksy cat.
I was just gonna say, Michael Jenkins only with the ability to make more plays down the field than what Jenkins
Right.
could make.
But the thing I love about Jennings is that he does bring that leadership to the team. You've already heard some of the other wide receivers on the team and other players at other positions talking about how Greg Jennings just exudes confidence
Mhm.
and is willing to share that with everybody.
Yeah.
If you're a follower of his on Twitter, he has a group called the Success Stalkers.
Mhm.
And it's people that want to succeed and how he can help them succeed, and he wants to kind of mentor and lead people. It's really cool.
I really am glad that they brought in Greg Jennings, especially after we drafted Cordarrelle Patterson, because that is a great guy that he can learn from. Okay, Percy Harvin, you really don't want him. You didn't want Percy Harvin mentoring.
Well, you saw who Harvin learned from.
Yeah, I know. Shut up. I don't want to hear about it.
Randy Moss.
But you really didn't want Percy mentoring your young receiving core. Greg Jennings is a guy who you do want them to look up to. And I think he's even a good influence on someone like Jerome Simpson, who, Jerome's been in the league for 6 years, but Jennings is going to set the pace for those receivers for this is how you work out. This is how film study. Like, this is how you get it done at a pro level. And that should rub off on everyone on that receiving core.
I sure hope so. All right, let's move on and let's start talking about Adrian Peterson.
Okay.
Now, during a CBS Sports interview, Peterson said that he was asked by a Detroit Lions linebacker whether or not he was using performance-enhancing drugs during his rehabilitation of his knee injury. And he replied, "Man, it's a lot of prayer, the juice of God." Because
Fantastic.
the Lions player asked him what he was juicing.
Absolutely
Now-
fantastic comment from Adrian. I love it.
Now, Peterson says that he takes the allegations as a compliment of how well he has done. He's quoted as, "I guess I'm performing that well that people think I'm juicing. That I'm taking something. That really shows me how much God has blessed me to be able to come back and play the way I
Mhm.
wanted." Now, if you follow us on Facebook, you've seen me post the video of Peterson doing his rehab on his weed, which is weird to think about, and him talking about how other Vikings players would come over and he'd play against them on Wii games, and it's just really something weird to think about, all these players playing these weird games on the Wii.
Yeah.
But
Adrian.
you can't argue with whatever he's got going on because he was named the number one player on NFL Network's Top 100 Players Countdown. and that was voted on by the players, so that's a really big honor for him.
Mhm.
Now comes the big question, though. How would you feel if later you found out that Adrian was using steroids?
Oh man, wouldn't that would hurt, wouldn't it? I mean,
How much would it change your opinion of his comeback from the injury
oh,
and him as a player or a person?
it would if you found out that he was like juicing, doing steroids or something, that would be a
Right.
really big change of opinion from, I think, the way not just Vikings fans, but, the media in general thinks of Adrian Peterson.
It's true.
Yeah. It'd be the complete opposite. And that would hurt. Like, that would be worse to me, that'd be worse than Gary Anderson missing that field goal in 98, because, like, Adrian is he's the face of our franchise.
When I post up this podcast, maybe a couple hours later, I'll post up the question of how you would feel if you found out. And I'd like you to reply, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter. It'll be on both.
Mhm.
Let us know how you would feel about it. Would it change your opinion of him? Would it change your opinion of the Vikings training staff? How would it make you feel? Just let us know. All right, let's move into our quick hits, and this is our last segment, as you all know, because I know you listen to every show because you love us. Now, they have named the award for the season sack leader, and it is now the Deacon Jones Award.
Very fittingly so, might I add.
Now, Kyle, do you think that a Vikings player will win that award this year?
Everson Griffin. Wait.
Really?
He could. No, I actually, I don't think Jared will be able to, I think, what was it, the 22 and a half or whatever he had. That's a lot of sacks to get in one season. I know he's coming off the shoulder surgery, and I don't quite think he'll be able to match that. No, I don't think we'll see a Viking win that award.
Well, hopefully it'll be exciting. We can keep the race close so that we got something to cheer for him to try to get that record, or maybe even Brian Robinson, or heck, maybe even Everson Griffin. We'll see.
Christian Ballard. You never know.
The Vikings have released linebacker Stanford Keglar.
Keglar.
He was signed as a camp body less than a month ago. He was released to make room for Desmond Bishop.
You know what? I have to pause on him for a minute. I feel bad for that guy because he had said on Twitter or wherever that, this is it. If he doesn't make it to a final roster, this could be it for his football career. And it's like, oh man,
Right.
Man, he didn't even really get an opportunity to do anything.
Hopefully he doesn't give up on his dream and he ends up, if it's not in the NFL, in some other league, doing what he loves. Because if this is what he loves, he should not.
I hope the guy keeps going too.
Adrian Peterson was in Oklahoma City on Wednesday, meeting with families who were affected by the tornado, as well as Vikings Jared Allen teaming up with the Professional Bull Riders Association to help fund the wounded soldiers.
Excellent charity work that the Vikings do, and this team does a lot of work like that goes unnoticed by the major media, and I personally think it's a shame that they want to do just 24/7 coverage when someone like Aaron Hernandez goes out and allegedly does what he does, but they can't even spend 30 seconds to acknowledge the fact that Adrian goes out and does what he does, or Jared Allen and his foundation, or Chad Greenway and his foundations, or just all the positive things that the Vikings do. They can't do that, but boy, they sure will cover when something goes wrong.
That's one of the main reasons I started Quick Hits, is because although we got little stupid things to talk about, like the Deacon Jones Award, which sure I could mention or not, nobody really cares, but I think that information like this about Adrian Peterson, Jared Allen, Chad Greenway, John Sullivan, all these guys doing their stuff for communities, all the charity work, all the hard work they do that usually goes unnoticed, they deserve it to be talked about. I know that that's not why they do it. They don't do it for media attention, because if they did, they'd make a bigger deal of it.
But
I
it's
just
always
wanna
nice
thank
to
them
know
for all
your
they do.
team and know what they're doing and that we have good players here in Minnesota.
Definitely. For the past 47 years, the Minnesota Vikings have called Gage Hall their home during their annual training camp. As of June 29th, Gage Hall is officially no more. The building was imploded.
You guys should go to Vikings.com and check out the video of the building getting blown up because it's really cool to see a building getting demolished. Um,
For the past 47 years, the Minnesota Vikings have called Gage Hall their home during the annual training camp in Mankato, Minnesota. But as of June 29th, 2013, Gage Hall is officially no more. The building was imploded.
Yeah, and you guys should check out on Vikings.com. You can see the footage of the old building getting blown up. It's pretty awesome to check out. And, real quick, like, the building was a piece of crap. Every player, coach, whatever, they stayed in it. They talked about how hot it was, and the beds were as hard as a rock. And Bud Grant said that he has memories of it, but none of them are any good. With that said, it's been there for 47 years, so obviously every training camp that I've been to, like Gage Hall has been off in the distance, and you look at every photo of the Vikings going back to the Fran Tarkenton era, and there was Gage off in the distance. It'll be really interesting when I go up there this year to see that the trees that are in front of it, and no Gage Hall anymore behind it, so...
Yeah, that'll definitely be different. So if you do go to training camp, check that out because it'll be something that you can't check out anymore. I don't know. But my last quick hit. If you want to see Christian and Samantha Ponder, they'll be hosting the red carpet ceremony at the ESPY Awards on ESPN July 17th.
Isn't it funny how not a single person has said that this is going to be a distraction for Christian Ponder? Because if Chris Cluey would have hosted those awards, my lord, it would have been Cluey. Why don't you get back to focusing on football?
It's for ESPN and ESPY, dude.
Yes, I'm just saying that if Cluey would have done it, it'd have been like, you should be focusing on football. But, Ponder can do it, and he's our quarterback, and no one has any problems with it.
Nope, I have no issues.
I'm just saying, that's all that I'm saying.
And I'm just not agreeing, but that's all right.
Because it's true.
No, I don't.
Yeah, no, it's totally true, Adam.
Yeah, if he was hosting the ESPY Awards on the red carpet every night, or if he was constantly blogging about it, or going to video game tournaments, or playing Magic the Gathering every night, posting about what's in his deck, no.
And none of that takes away any more from football than what Ponder hosting this or going golfing does.
I'm sure all those things take away a lot of time, dude.
Oh, yeah, but come on.
I'm sure it
He's
does.
just a punter. I think he's got it figured out what he needs to do by this stage in his career.
Well, he didn't have it figured out last year because he punted like poop.
Oh, he was better than what you give him credit for. Don't make me pull stats up.
He was better than poop. I'll give him that. But on that note, I think we are going to call this show good because we've talked about poop too much and we're too classy of a show for that. So I'd like to thank Kyle West for staying here with me. I'd like to thank you all for listening, and remember to stay classy, Minnesota.
Purple, and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome. Behold, we are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores. We roar, ignite the stands. We bleed purple, and our bones are gold. We're the kings of the north. Our slogan skull. No packer, no bear, no lion can beat us. We will punish anyone if they try to defeat us. He's the MVP, appreciated greatly. Running all day, 2K, that's AP. Make a defense cry, or maybe beg. ACL stands for Adrian's crazy leg. He's the heart of the team, 28, holding up that Lombardi is a part of the dream. We will never give up, We find the faith to move past.